There's never been one like me, Gale.
Scream 6 is the sixth installment in this meta-heavy satirical slasher franchise. It picks up a year after the previous one left off, where the survivors are still dealing with the aftermath of the brutal Westboro slayings. Hoping for a fresh start, they move to New York City, only to find that once again someone has taken up the Ghostface mantle, and the bodies start piling up. I wasn't really the biggest fan of the previous installment. While I didn't hate it, it just didn't really do all that much for me. The characters just fell flat, there wasn't that many interesting set pieces, and the big reveal as to what Ghostface's motive even was pretty dumb. So I didn't really know what to expect with this one. But, in absolute seriousness, this one is a definite improvement. Right down to the film's opening kill, which was a genuinely surprising twist on the typical Scream formula. So much so that this might actually be my favorite opening kill, barring the first one. So not only does this film somehow manage to include enough twists and turns to genuinely subvert audience expectations, but the characters, the ones that returned from the previous installment that I didn't really care for, they're back, and I actually like them this time around. I don't know what they did, but I actually found myself caring about what happened to them, whether they lived or if they died. And yeah, having main characters that you actually care about and want to see make it through to the end is especially important in a horror film. Melissa Barrera as Sam in particular has really proven herself to be a worthy successor to Sidney, with her backstory and struggles actually making her quite an interesting protagonist. And as expected, this film manages to work in some remarkably brutal kills. One particularly cruel one was so mean and vicious that it actually made my jaw drop. There is a real sense of danger lurking around every corner, and the decision to move the Scream franchise to New York City was a fantastic decision. Not only does the change in scenery provide a much-needed shake-up, but it helps use this new setting to heighten the tension. The scene in the subway is a perfect example, as the subway is filled with people dressed as Ghostface, which is a really unnerving piece of imagery, being surrounded by Ghostface and being unaware if any of them actually are the real Ghostface. And speaking of which, the convenience store scene is another terrific horror set piece. Again, there's just something so unnerving and simultaneously welcome about seeing Ghostface silently searching for his potential victims while yielding a shotgun. This movie contains a lot of elements that are actually going to stick with me, which is more than I can say for Screams 3 and 5 in particular. This movie's pacing is spectacular, moving at just the right pace in every single scene, knowing precisely when to slow down and build the suspense, and knowing when to inject some levity without going overboard. Probably the weakest aspect of the film for me is its ending. That's not to say the ending is bad, but with the way people were talking about it, I thought this ending was going to do something really new and unique, but instead it feels like kind of a sophomoric reveal. And I was able to piece it together pretty easily, especially when, again, I don't want to give too much away, but one character says something, and as soon as they did, I immediately knew they were the killer. So, yeah, I couldn't help but feel disappointed that a series that's supposed to thrive on subverting your expectations was a little too predictable at the end. That is, except for one element. There was an aspect of the ending that I legitimately didn't see coming. It was surprising, and it's a nice, welcome change of pace to the franchise. And even then, the climax itself is pretty well done. It's intense, it's bloody, and it all flows together very nicely. So yeah, overall, in terms of this new slew of Scream movies, this one is a huge step up in quality over the previous film. I actually gave a crap about what happened to this group of characters, something that I wasn't sure this film would be able to do, but it does. It's exciting, it's paced very well, and it's even got a few chilling scares. Had the ending been polished, maybe if they'd added another twist on top of it or something, I'd probably be saying this is easily the best one since the original. But with a disappointing partial reveal, I can really only say this is about on par with 2, which is to say really, really good, just not quite classic status. Even so, Scream 6 manages to get a full shot. That review you just heard was an excerpt from my weekly review show This Weekend, where I review 5 brand new movies every single weekend. If you would like to check that out, then make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss it. And as always, if you want to see more of my reviews, you can check out my Letterboxd account. The link is in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.